Good evening. It is 5:15 this Monday, November 13th. The Carroll City Council is now in session. Would you all please rise and join with me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, for roll call, all are present. We have before us tonight the consent agenda. And as always, we have approval of the minutes of the prior meeting, this case, October 23rd. We have approval of this cycle's bills and claims. We have a couple of licenses and permits to approve, a new special 5-day Class C retail alcohol license with outdoor service for November 23rd, 24th of 23 for a Black Friday event at Katie Lynn Boutique with the Lucky Wife wine slushies. And then also a Class B retail alcohol license in Kimmis Country Store number 2. We also have the 2023 Municipal Golf Course Booster Pump Project, Station Project, the construction materials inspection and testing, ground testing proposal. Also in the consent agenda, we have the Merchants Ballpark lease for the 24 season with the Carroll Merchants. We also have a bid opening report, Parks Tractor and Bucket. And then bid opening report is in there, as well as the annual urban renewal report for fiscal year 22-23, the state annual financial report for fiscal year 22-23, as well as the city street finance report for fiscal year 22-23. Are there any questions or comments about tonight's consent agenda? And if not, I would seek a motion to approve as presented.
So moved.
Tom?
Second.
JJ? Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Bauer?
Yes.
Cordero?
Yes.
Schreck? Yes. Base?
Yes.
Dirks?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Motion's approved.
Thank you. Item number 4 on tonight's agenda, as always, we have oral requests and communications from the audience. This is where the members of the public wishing to address the council for an item that is not on tonight's agenda may come forth and do so at this time. And these comments are limited to 5 minutes or less. Do we have one?
Yes, I do. Ben Warnicki, home 12 Performance BMW property at 814 West 6th Street in Carroll. What's gonna take to get that road paved, guys? It's Carroll's hottest dirt track. I get county trucks going up and down at 54 mile an hour. Our speed limit's 25. I have a certified radar gun. The dust is out of control. I've been down 11 years. I've seen the city run a snow plow on it one time in the wintertime, 11 years. It's not maintained. It's a dust bowl. Can we get it paved? The whole street's full of businesses. It's the only place in Carroll we have a dirt road that we got businesses on.
What road are we talking about?
West 6th Street.
Industrial.
I brought colored those on.
Can you put that up on the
Yeah,
thing?
just put
Right
it
where
up
that
on
red dot is, put it underneath there.
All right, up in the corner, got a little arrow pointing down. It runs from basically Randy's Diesel down to Highway 71 Viaduct.
Is that in the city limits?
Yes, I pay city taxes. It's city limits.
Why is it not paved? Just curious.
Over the,
There was
Low
there
use.
was a project several years ago to pave that,
Okay.
and it was a special assessment project. The road had always been gravel, like it is now, obviously, but entered a special assessment project for paving, and it was rejected by the adjacent owners at the time. I know a lot of properties have changed hands since that time,
Yeah.
but it had been addressed at one time.
Cause it is full of businesses now, isn't there a bunch of new buildings?
Oh, yeah.
Dang near full.
And like I said, I've never been notified for anything in 11 years I've owned it. And I've talked to other business owners along there, and fortunately, they could not make this meeting, but they said they'll make the next one, if there is a next one about it. And it's time to get it paved.
That's something we talked about at budget budgeting, or is that something you vote on? or-
Well, again, per protocol, I had told Benton a couple weeks ago, I said he can bring it, to, probably the more appropriate thing to do is to get it on an agenda, okay?
Spoke with Aaron about that, and he told me I need to come here and bring it up like
Yep.
we are tonight first,
Which is fine.
and then we can go through it from there.
Yeah, and the council's not obligated to respond, if at all. I mean, we can certainly ask questions at our will, but, we can just, it's been noted within our minutes, or it will be noted in our minutes, that a request has been made, and then we can take it up and put it into the standard CIP process, beginning as early as this cycle, but, that's going to be a council decision and so on, so.
So just to confirm, there's gravel on the north and the south side of the tracks, correct? So,
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, I'm certainly aware of it on
Both
his side.
sides, south side's farm ground,
Yeah.
north side's businesses.
Randy, how long is the street? How much, is it a quarter mile? I can't,
Probably 3/4 of a mile.
3/4
About
of a mile.
3/4. I'll agree with that.
It goes from right behind, the Putnam Avenue, adjacent to IP, from there out to Burgess.
Okay, thank you.
Last 5 years, a lot of businesses have moved out there, developed.
Yeah.
So I think with this coming to us tonight, I think it's a good opportunity for the council now knows that aware of the issue, and then we can talk about it in our strategic planning session coming up as to where we want to put it, what we want to do with it as far as in our streets plan, which I'm sure I haven't looked at it real close, but I know we're going to have a number of projects that we're already scheduled to move forward with. So how we want to fit that in, if we want to look at an assessment project, we can certainly do that since it's never been paved. So I think that's actually a good opportunity for that type of a project. But moving forward, I think that's the proper way to look at it as far as we have people interested in that being paved at this point, and then moving forward, we can talk it in our strategic planning and then program it into our streets plan from there.
Okay.
Sewer and water's already there, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, sewer, water, yeah. I mean, it's all developed. I mean, it's not even empty lot there anymore, but it's all developed all the way down, so. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Benton.
very much.
And again, it is noted that you've made a request.
Perfect, thank
Okay. Okay, very well. So we will move to the other items tonight's agenda, beginning with under 5, we have ordinances. And we will start first with you, Aaron, and Rolling Hills South Condo's second urban renewal plan, and this is our second reading, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
This is the ordinance that puts in place the urban renewal area down in the southwest corner of the city for the urban renewal plan with 702 development.
704.
704. I would recommend probably waiving the second. How do we
Read the
word that?
third, read the second, waive the third.
Okay. Read the second and waive the third readings to approve this ordinance to get this urban renewal area in place.
Any questions for Aaron? Okay, so the recommendation is to approve the second and waive the third. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
It was a tie.
So
It's,
moved.
I'm gonna
either
give
way.
it to Carolyn.
I
She's
don't
better looking.
Second.
Okay. Okay, by Carolyn, seconded by Laverne.
That's
Any further discussion? And it is to waive the third then, correct? Yep, okay.
Correct.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Base,
yes.
Dirk,
Yes.
Seaman,
yes.
Shrek. Yes. Cordero.
Yes.
Bauer.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Perfect, thank you. Under 5, I'm sorry, we're done with 5, so under 6, under resolutions? Nope.
Resolution.
Oh, I gotta adopt that, don't I?
Yes.
Sorry.
And then there's a resolution with this as well.
That's why I put that note on there that I skipped right by. I need to adopt that, so is there a motion to adopt the said resolution?
moved.
Yep,
Second,
by Laverne and then Carolyn. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Cordero.
Yes.
Shrek. Yes. Bauer.
Yes.
Base.
Yes.
Dirk.
Yes.
Seaman.
yes.
Thank you,
Ordinance is adopted.
thank you. And then, under resolutions tonight, Aaron, you're up to bat again. Region 12,
We need to finish the resolution authorizing confirming the.
Well, how am I
advancement of
missing that?
costs for urban renewal project.
Well, we adopted,
We adopted the ordinance, but yeah, we didn't talk about it during our discussion here. But yes.
okay.
So
I'm sorry.
basically
That's
this-
all right.
I kind of put this together. So basically what this resolution does is allows us to be able to capture or repay the city for the administrative costs it was to set up the
Okay.
urban renewal area.
Yeah, I don't want to break any rules, so
Yep.
thanks for the catch.
After we get done working through the development process, or the development
Okay.
agreement, the obligation there.
So now I need another motion for the resolution then.
So moved.
Carolyn,
Second.
seconded by JJ. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Bauer,
Yes.
Base.
Yes.
Cornell.
Yes.
Dirks.
Yes.
Shrek. Yes. Seaman.
Yes.
Resolution is approved.
Can I move to resolutions yet?
Let's do it.
Okay, let's do that. I think I'll do that. Region 12, Council of Governments, Home Construction and Rehab Agreement. Aaron,
You have a copy of the actual agreement with highlighted sections changed in front of you. We actually have the old agreement that we had prior to us making the changes that had the current one with the purchase of lots. We would repay Region 12 for those purchase of lots. So in the agreement you have in front of us, it's highlighted where it talks about a rehabilitation or what we would do if Region 12 is doing a rehabilitated unit rather than a purchase of an old or an empty lot and then a new house. What I would call the most important changes are under section 2.1, responsibilities of the COG. Under number 3, it says rehabilitate homes ensuring all major infrastructure will be serviceable for at least 10 years to include roof, foundation, siding, windows, HVAC, electrical systems, plumbing. Total project investment excluding the residential purchase or residence purchase will be at least $100,000 per rehabilitated unit. So we would be investing $30,000 with Region 12, basically to purchase the house, and then Region 12 would be doing the investment to rehabilitate the house. The other part of that would then be that this project would be eligible for the COG's Local Housing Trust Fund, which is very similar to LMI funds, or an LMI qualified financing, but it actually opens it up to a little bit more of individuals that make a little bit more money than what LMI would qualify for. So that's kind of the agreement in a nutshell, aside from what we did before. Randy is here if you have any specific questions for him, but I can certainly.
I mean, Rick?
Rick.
Rick.
Randy.
Rick.
Randy's over here. Rick is here, but otherwise, the agreement hasn't changed a lot. It's pretty similar to what we had before, but just adding a rehabilitation option rather than trying to find empty lots.
So Rick, one question I have, maybe I'm overlooking this, is if I would purchase one of these homes, how long do I have to own this before I can resell this?
So, there, really, you could resell it at any time. The question is there any recapture provision? If there is, if we enroll this as this would be set up to do that 150,000 in the grant that we've got through the state, the person would be purchasing the house at fair market value. So if that happens and they purchase it at fair market value and we provide no down payment assistance, there is no clawback, there's no regulation that they would have to keep it any specific period of time, but they're paying full fair market value for it. If there is a benefit to them, which is probably gonna come in the form of down payment assistance, which we would do through that state ARPA program, there's a specific clawback provision, which would be based upon the amount of assistance that would be provided to them. Probably a 5-year forgivable period, because I can't imagine that the down payment assistance will be more than $5,000 or $10,000, but that's going to depend upon the buyer. Or it may be outside of this program. So when we talked about the Housing Trust Fund, that itself has a down payment assistance portion of it. So it may be outside this other funding, but through a separate funding agreement. And again, a 5 to 10 year forgivability period, should there be any.
Am I missing it where it needs to be occupied? I see the 18 months of the construction time has to be done, but it doesn't say anything about having to be occupied. Like, the program we have now, it's owner occupied in 18 months,
Right.
but there's nothing in here saying, you know, you can have this and remodel it, but our goal is to get our, you know, people in homes.
Yes.
So we don't have anything in here that it has to be occupied.
Well, the goal in here, it says its intent is to have single-family owner-occupied homes.
Where's that at? I missed it.
It's in
1.2.
1.2 and in both paragraphs when it talks about
Okay.
rehabilitation and for new construction, but if it takes longer to get it sold than 18 months, what are we gonna do? I don't think we would do anything other than say, Rick, keep trying to sell the house.
Okay,
Right.
I don't wanna sit on empty houses.
it's fine, I just, that's why we discussed it.
Yeah, that would be our goal. And the program that we have through the state, that has to be owner occupied.
Okay.
Were you thinking of a situation where somebody may buy it and rent it out?
Or just sit on it for a while and wait for values to cheat, you know, just sit
Okay,
on it.
yeah, so, I mean, that's probably a good question, but you kind of just answered that, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, the no rental provision on a rehabbed house is gonna happen if we do down payment assistance, which I tell you we will do on every one, because if we don't do a little bit, then that repayment ability is that whole 150,000, which nobody's gonna buy a house, that they have to repay any money that they've already given us. So we'll do a degree of down payment assistance with every house, and that would have that 5-year part of the default as if they would rent it, which it's very hard to enforce, easier for us to enforce in Carroll, because we're here. But that would be written, that's one of the situations of default in that clawback agreement.
we're looking at vacant homes, we're doing this?
Yes, so that would be, well, anything that's on the market. So it may not be currently vacant. For example, it may be a rental house that has a renter in it that's on the market and available. I'm not gonna want to buy anything that has a renter currently in it, because these are federal funds, and then that will kick in a particular set of unpleasant things to do as far as relocation is concerned. So generally, it's gonna be houses that are vacant are available for sale. That's what we're gonna be looking for, or it's 657A, or it's donated homes.
Well, our goal is to create more housing, so you wanna
Right.
fill a vacant home. You don't wanna have somebody renting and then they're out and you remodel, you know, and you get somebody
The
else
two
in there.
advantages-
You haven't really created any extra housing. Where a vacant home, you will on this.
True, and this is your program to determine how you wish to have it run. I'll give you 2 reasons why I think having somebody rent, even if it's a rental unit, why you would wanna think about enrolling it in this program. One is that it's an owner-occupied program, so that you transition that person into homeownership. Second is the amount of rehabilitation that we're gonna put into that housing unit is probably going to be more than a person that is renting it. Now, that may not be 100% true, but just looking at the repayment ability that you're gonna have on the rent that you're gonna collect over a period of time, who's gonna stick $150,000 into a house? And where that becomes an advantage is that housing unit then is a long-term housing unit for the community, as opposed to potentially continuing to degrade over time, which I'm not saying that happens in Carroll, but there are a lot of rental units that don't see as much investment, just because it doesn't pay for the person that's owning them to put that investment in the home. So even though it may have a renter that's currently in it, and that may hurt your rental market, which I know we need to have rental units, those are the 2 reasons that I would say that maybe you don't want to worry about it. But if you do want to worry about it, it's your program, and you can tell me what you want to do, and we'll do whatever you want.
You hear that, Laverne? You get your own program.
Rick,
You always
Do the
wanted it.
royal you.
This is what
I would also ask, you mentioned that you're looking for homes that are currently on the market. Are you guys searching out homes that are maybe currently in foreclosure, or?
We have, I mean, our feelers are out there. We have looked at houses that are on foreclosure. Sometimes that, part of the reason that they're in foreclosure is because they're behind, and they're behind on what the value of the house is. So it just kind of depends on how much the financial institution would want for it. But anything, we would look for anything. I've got, If I'm looking to, I've got really 6 slots to do. One slot is through a specific state of Iowa program. I don't have as much money. So my house is gonna have to not need as much, that we enroll into that program or not cost me as much. The other 5, I've got one of those 5 slots taken currently. So we're actively looking for projects for those. And of course, this is only the rehab part of this. I'd still like lots, which, as you know, it's tough to find an infill lot in Carroll that's gonna be available that is at a price where we can actually put a house on it and sell to the price point that we're trying to get at. So it's not a bad thing. I mean, if we end up not finding any infill lots, either because other people are buying them to put houses on it, that's great, because that's the goal we want, right? Even if we highlight lots and say, why don't we do a project here, and they end up going somewhere else and a house gets built, that's what the goal is. So it doesn't matter if we do it, if the private sector will do it, that's awesome.
Is that the reason for the ask for the change from the construct to, or where you had?
I did-
Because you can't find any lots? Is that what
I
you're
did
saying?
not ask for the change, but I think that's probably part of the reason that the change is thrown out there is because we have the money available from the state to put significant amounts in. And so the city's essentially putting up money to say, look at projects in our community to invest that large amount. So that would be one change. The second is we haven't been able to locate lot 1 yet that, and we went around with the city help of the city to look at all potential vacant lots to see what was developable, what made sense, what wasn't already, if it's a lot that's owned by a neighbor, that's their yard, they're not gonna be interested in selling that, and just have not been able to come upon anything yet that's available in town.
Some of it came from the state housing convention I went to, and they talked about if you want to, get housing faster in your town, this is one of the fastest ways.
Okay. I guess my question was, I mean, the whole thought behind that was idea was to construct to kind of promote that as well. I mean, now we're going to existing that are potentially already occupied. So for me, it was, I mean, I was kind of on the fence in the beginning anyways, but to construct, which is gonna put up new housing, and now we're gonna rehab, which isn't providing any new housing potentially.
Well, if it's vacant, it would be.
If it's vacant, but we can't
Right.
guarantee that we're gonna get a vacant house.
Well, they can do your best at going after vacants.
Well, and again, you tell me what vacant is. I mean, generally, anything that's on the market's probably gonna be vacant, but if there is, I mean, we wanna work with you, so if there's something specific that you want us to stay away from, then we will.
When I look at vacant, I look at pulling like water meters. Hey, which one hasn't had service in a certain period of
You
time?
mean abandoned,
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
right? Isn't that the better
mean-
term for that?
yeah, probably better than vacant, yeah.
My house is vacant right now.
Over a-
No one's home right now. so.
Over a period of time, I would just hate to buy homes that are on the market for people that are potential buyers right now, especially with the limited selection. So I think, for me, I think if we go after something that's sitting abandoned for a period of time, 2, 3, 4 years, or that hasn't had any activity there, I would be more in favor of that versus something that's on the market.
My only reaction to that, and again, we'll do whatever you wanna do, it is gonna be hard for us to be able to do something that's vacant, cause generally, that's gonna need an entire new rewire, it's gonna need all new plumbing, you're probably gonna have to blow out the kitchen, siding, windows, roof. The house we're doing in Coon Rapids, we're not doing a lot on the interior, we're at $120,000 already for a house that assessed at $70,000 that was donated to us, and part of that is because I don't have a crew. We're hiring all this work done by local contractors, and so if we had a crew, we could probably do it and get a lot more done than I do through the procurement methods that we need to follow to hire somebody. That's not to say that there aren't some abandoned houses that have been cared for, but typically, if you really want to make it a serviceable unit for somebody that if you're going to sell the low mod income, they're not going to have really the ability to go out and take out larger loans that they can deal with a failure of a furnace or a hole in a roof. So we want to make sure that we've kind of got that exterior envelope all set to go for them. And that's without any foundation problems. So it can be, we've been through a lot of houses that cities were gonna take on 657A. And you look at the outside of it and think, I'm at 150 before I even step inside the house. And usually that's because there's foundation problems, but that's where those type of abandoned properties can be tough, but that's not all of them. And we only need 5 throughout the region to figure out where we might be able to make a significant difference, but
So
I get what
what's
you're
really
saying.
the sweet spot for a purchase? I know something that small communities have that we don't is,
Can I ask, you're gonna go out and buy a house?
I think it's gonna depend on the house.
I'm looking on the real estate right now, and there's like 5 of them under 140,000.
Yeah, that's gonna be tough
That's gonna be
for, but I mean, they are out there periodically, but I would think if there's something 50, 60, we're not looking at a huge house, probably 2-bedroom, infill, can be smaller yard. It's not easy. I mean, and the Carroll market's tough, but the goal of this program is to take those houses that really need a lot of infrastructure work to make sure that they don't become dilapidated and lost housing units in 20 years. To make them last a lot longer.
Well, are there any abandoned ones on Carroll that we know of?
Well, you identified,
Yes. Oh,
yeah.
you identified 15 midsummer, 15 of them.
Yep.
And there was probably, just doing like a drive-by, there was probably 6 or 7 of them that appeared to be fine. Now, maybe they had a severe structural problem unbeknownst to the naked eye, but there was 5, 6, 7 of them that looked pretty, and we know for one for sure was definitely decent. They were just waiting for a family issue to get settled.
Yep.
But there was some to start with, you
And I
know.
think those are the ones that we'd really be in, that we can do the best, because to your point, they're vacant, they're not being lived in now.
Right.
The only problem with all 15 of those, they weren't necessarily up for sale right this minute.
Right.
They're not putting them up for sale. You get the answer, well, I'm gonna work on them and improve it, and then I'm gonna put it up for sale. Well, some of these builders we know aren't gonna get around to it anytime soon.
And some of them had work in process,
Some of
but
them,
hadn't hammered a nail in months.
So we're looking at, talking about adding this onto the new home. So we're still gonna stay with the new home project, buying lots and doing that. So we're looking at an alternative here. So the decision I would imagine comes with Region 12 is this doesn't pencil out on this particular home, so we're not gonna do it. So that would be on you guys, and we don't get involved in that.
That is correct.
Okay, so if things don't pencil out on these used homes or abandoned homes, then you still have the new home that we have in place now.
Yes, as long as we can find lots, but yes.
Yeah, well, that's, as long as you can find an abandoned home that's worth fixing up too, the same scenario.
Right.
So you may get into this and it's not working very well on half the homes that you're looking at. You don't know that until you get going, but it's just another avenue for us to get some homes. And if they don't pencil out, then that's it.
And ultimately, we don't spend any money till it's found or done.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and we're not out anything until we do find a lot or a residence that Region 12 gives the green light to.
I just didn't realize there were that many abandoned properties. But
Well, we're working on an ordinance to work on that also, so.
There are several in Ward 4, and I've been told by the neighbors who have talked to me about them that they're very run-down looking. And the neighbors have tried to, because there are nice houses near these really prominent eyesores. And neighbors have tried to buy these abandoned homes, and they're getting worse and worse. One in particular has been abandoned for 12 years. The owner lives, I believe, in Atlantic, and they have tried to buy them. They will not sell, and they're just leaving them to further deteriorate, and like the neighbors have just had it, and they want us to do something. Now, these may be so run down you couldn't meet your price point, Rick, but I think there may be some that could be rehabbed that Rick could handle and improve some of these neighborhoods. It's, people are worried about their property values going down. And they're worried also, what if there's a fire? Or, all the problems that can come with abandonment. So I think giving Rick a chance to try can't hurt us, since it's pay as we go. I mean, it's just another option versus infill. Infill would be great to get a new home, because it's just a lot. Somebody's paying, taxes on. We need to build our tax base. So I think it's worth a try. May take a while.
So we just need to give Rick direction on this, I mean, and simply not, I mean, our goal would be to go with the abandonment, right? And not the on the market, right?
Well, I think if I understood Rick correctly, he's wanting all comers. Did I understand that earlier? Yeah.
As the developer,
Yeah.
I would like to be able to go after whatever we could find to be able to work on. If there is a provision that you wish to add to the contract, you can certainly propose that on, that somehow deals with vacant or provides a definition for what vacant is, to where you would feel a house should be enrolled in the program, or that we would have to run it by the city manager or something. If there's language that you want to propose in the contract, then you should do that. I want you to feel comfortable with it and
He said it's our
about it, so-
program. It's our program, but he would have more opportunities if it was even currently inhabited or rented or whatever.
I mean, my goal, the whole goal is to get vacant properties. The program that we based this on was one that we had 15 years ago, that it had to be vacant. They defined vacant as really on the market. So even though it may be your house that you're selling because you're moving and you were living in it up until that point, because it was on the market, we could acquire it and then rehab it. We didn't deal with any that had any renters in it, and I don't want to now because of the Uniform Relocation Act that I don't want to get into, which is a whole specific other set of rules that we need to follow. So it's really up to whatever you're comfortable with, because you're the ones that are investing the funds and you're the partners, and we're not talking about a lot of houses that I can go in and do this with anyway, because I only have a specific amount of money in this program, and I have it turns into a pumpkin. I thought it was June 30th, but it's actually the end of next year that we've got to have our contracts in place. But we've probably got to have all of our properties required at least by next summer, so that we'd have time to get our contracts in place with contractors to do the work.
And if that's the case and you don't find them, then the pumpkin turns and we're done.
Yeah, then I think it's back to just construction only on, and not the rehab piece of it.
Well, I think it's worth a shot of.
I think the ones on the market are available, should be available also, just because I know the ones you're going after are gonna be those that they probably could be purchased. Probably like somebody like me who wanted to renovate them and resell them, but if it's something that fits their program, they may as well have the option to do it too. Because right now, we don't have enough people in town that want to do that. I mean, we've taken our last few years buying and renovating personally homes, and I can't get enough done. So let somebody else jump in and do it. And our big contractors are building homes, so let them help us get some of those rejuvenated so that they're on our tax base for more than $70,000. Get them up to 150, 220, whatever, based on what you can do to rejuvenate it.
And we talked about this a couple weeks ago, but is it still understood that these homes would still be available for the tax abatement, the 5-year tax
I
abatement?
think we talked about that.
I think we talked about it, but I didn't see it in the agreement, or just leave it as. Is that
Unless it's
is that
I think
just a
it's
given?
It's understood.
Okay.
Yeah, unless it's under an urban renewal area, it would be available for the tax
Okay,
abatement.
and I'm just gonna bring this up just because it probably is just overly obvious, but it's gotta be within the city limits. I mean, it's not written here, but it's clearly understood that it's,
But
we're
it
not,
said construction must meet city.
city building code, but not, it doesn't
Well,
say city
The
limits.
title says City of Carroll.
Yeah, but,
Does that
Pardon?
cover it?
Section 1.1 is within the city limits.
Yes. Within
okay,
the
I'm
city
sorry, I did,
limits.
I missed
Thanks,
it. That's
Lou.
my bad, thank you. Sorry. Yeah. Okay, so we're at a point to
Yeah.
make a motion to move forward with this or not?
Yeah.
It's not like it's 50 homes, it's 10 homes. I think it's worth a try.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion.
Second?
Seconded by Carolyn. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Dirk?
Yes.
No. Seaman?
Yes.
Bauer?
Yes.
Base?
Yes.
Warner?
Yes.
Resolution is approved 5-0.
Thank you. Thank you, Rick.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's the Region 12. So now we are at 6B, which is fiscal year '24 budget amendment number 1, and I have 551, Laura, and we'll go ahead and open the public hearing for this one and turn it over to you.
Yes, thank you, Mark. So this is a time for the public hearing on our first budget amendment for our fiscal year '24. There's a list included with the memo of the items that would be included in that. As a quick refresher, it was items that were either budgeted or part of our reestimates when we ended our fiscal '23 year, and that were not completed as of June 30th of 2023, except for 2 transfers that were noted in the memo. At the time, actually, even up to today, no comments were received in the office.
That's my question.
Yep.
Thank you.
It was published in the Carroll Times-Herald as required by state code, and it was published on Friday, October 27th.
You do a really nice job itemizing these things out, and particularly which ones that didn't get into the '23 budget, so pretty well straightforward. Does anybody have any questions? Any members of the public with questions? Well, this could be the fastest public hearing we've had this year, so I see it at 5:52. We'll go ahead and close the public hearing. And then, per your recommendation, I need a motion to approve the resolution for the budget amendment number 1. Is there a motion? Tom?
Second.
Seconded by Kyle. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Bauer?
Yes.
Cornero?
Yes.
Schreck?
Yes.
Base?
Yes.
Dirks?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Resolution is approved.
Thank you very much. Let's see, we are item 6C and the 9th amended and restated Central Business District Urban Renewal Plan, a new Ziegler Urban Renewal Plan and related development agreements. And I'll turn it back over to you again, Aaron.
Yeah, this is a resolution accepting an engagement letter with Allers and Cooney to rewrite and add projects to the 9th amended and restated Central Business District, also to create the Ziegler Urban Renewal Plan and the related development agreement with Ziegler to put in, well, which will actually go into item D, the sanitary sewer and water main extension. But this is to write the agreements and make sure we're doing everything correct by legal standards for the urban renewal areas.
Pretty straightforward stuff. Any questions for Aaron on this? If not, I would seek a motion to approve the resolution to enter into the scope of engagement agreement with Allers and Cooney. Is that Laverne?
Yep.
Second.
Seconded by Misty. Is that Misty?
Yeah.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Seaman?
Yes.
Schreck? Yes. Dirks?
Yes.
Cornero?
Yes.
Base?
Yes.
Bauer?
Yes.
Resolution is approved.
Thank you. Item 6D is US 30 West Sanitary Sewer and Water Main Extension 2024, related to the previous topic, and turn it over to Randy.
Thank you, Mayor. We have proposed a US 30 West sanitary sewer and water main extension to serve that Ziegler property on the west edge of town. The project includes extension of about 1,100 feet of sewer and water. from Kitty Hawk Avenue to Highway 30 and then west on Highway 30 to the east property line of the Ziegler property. We've prepared a professional services agreement with Snyder and Associates to perform the design work necessary to get the project to a bidding phase. Snyder and Associates has a long relationship with Ziegler, and they have done the Ziegler site plan work for the property, and they'll be doing some additional utility work for Ziegler. So we are recommending that Snyder be retained to help coordinate this project, the city project and the Ziegler project. Anyway, the professional services agreement includes design services, bid services, and some construction service, a total estimated amount of $99,350. The project schedule is pretty aggressive, but it is set up to parallel the needs of the Ziegler property so that these services are available when Ziegler needs them. And Ziegler's development schedule is also pretty aggressive. Unless there are any questions, I'd recommend your consideration of approving the agreement with Snyder and Associates for the water main and sanitary sewer extension.
Very good, Randy. And you had outlined in your narrative that we're using Snyder because that's who Ziegler uses. But would the council have any concerns about whether or not that would limit or inhibit any prospective bidders, that it would be open to all comers, once the design is open and then we let the bids?
Oh, yeah.
It wouldn't inhibit that in any way?
That would not inhibit it. This is just the design work. And there is like work on the Ziegler property. So if Ziegler negotiates their contract or if they bid their contract, they'll get it under contract however they desire.
Okay.
That may influence bidders. That successful bidder may want to be the successful bidder for the city portion of the project. So it could work to the advantage in bidding that way.
Good.
It's not guaranteed, but it's a possibility. It makes a quite bit larger project, almost double the size in length when you add the Ziegler work into it.
Okay. And this is all recoverable through the TIF agreement that
Yep.
we'll talk about in just a moment.
One thing about Ziegler is they try to emphasize having local first.
Any other questions for Randy? Okay, so the recommendation is approval of the resolution to adopt the agreement or approve the agreement with Snyder and Associates for the US 30 West Sanitary Sewer and Water Main Extension projects. Is there a motion to that? Tom? Is that Misty?
Yes.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Bauer,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Cornero,
Yes.
Dirks,
Yes.
Strack. Yes. Seaman.
Yes.
Resolution is approved.
Perfect. Thank you, Randy. Okay, moving right along, we have item 6E, which is the Biokinemetrics Holdings LLC and DMBA Properties and Consulting, the annual tax increment finance appropriation for 2025. Laura?
Yes, thank you, Mark. So we've been working with Biokinemetrics and D&B Properties for a number of years for some improvements that were done at the property located across the street from the lab. And part of the agreement with them was for the city to provide a grant in the amount of $300,000 to rehab and put up a new building. Part of that also includes the annual appropriations. We've been doing this for a number of years where, so that way the whole $300,000 doesn't count against the city's debt limit, that only the portion of the agreement that would be paid in the next fiscal year actually gets counted towards our debt obligation. The developer has completed the construction of the building and certified Also then with that is the certification of the number of jobs that were created, that was part of the agreement. And the developer is certified that there were 10 new jobs that were created. And some additional work was done to investigate the number of jobs, and that was outlined in here, what the work was done to verify the jobs that were created. So before you tonight is a resolution, what we call our annual appropriations resolution, to ask for the TIF dollars to pay the developer for the taxes, or the portion of the taxes that relate to the incremental value that was created with that new building. Those taxes would be repaid to him next fiscal year, the developer next fiscal year. So this is, we've been doing this for a number of years. Fiscal 25 will be the 7th year of the annual appropriations. And after the fiscal 24 appropriation payments will be made, there will be roughly $193,000 left on the grant to be paid back. Are there any questions about what the annual appropriations resolution is?
I have a quick question. You talked with their representative, Mr. Jacobs, and you were shown that Biokinemetrics has 8 W-2 employees, 6 1099, 2 of which meet the criteria. You were shown the information, but my question is, was Nathan Overberg, who wrote this agreement with Biokinemetrics, and he's aware of the content, was he good with the documents that were provided, and is good with how the number of employees were certified? That the information you were privy to meets the criteria, and he does indeed have the 10. So we're good as far as Overberg is concerned?
Yeah, actually, Nathan didn't write this agreement. It was his predecessor that actually wrote the agreement. And, but yes, we were consulting with him as far as what we could do to kind of certify the jobs without just having them fill out a form saying, yeah, we have 10 jobs. And he was comfortable with the way we had certified the jobs in this aspect, yes.
Even the 1099s?
Yes. Yep.
He was good with it.
Yep.
So even though he didn't write it, I apologize.
No.
He is fully aware of the content
Yes,
and the spirit of the content.
correct.
Okay. So we're on firm legal standing then?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Laura or for Aaron? So the recommendation is for the approval of obligating funds from the Central Business District TIF to Biokinemetrics and DMBA Properties Consulting. Is there a motion to that?
So moved.
Is it Kyle and then JJ? Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Dirks?
Yes.
Schreck?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Bauer?
Yes.
Base?
Yes.
Bornero?
Yes.
Carolyn, thanks for asking that question. I do have a comment
Okay,
before we
sure.
move on to the next one. Moving forward and following the lessons learned during this process and herein, I highly recommend that any new business agreement that is considered by the council moving forward, particularly those that with their spirit and intent rooted in job creation in Carroll, that the language contain airtight and explicit definitions that are well understood and mutually agreed upon by all parties, that are both binding and irrefutable. Agreements should always be crystal clear and beneficial to all parties. And that's my comment. So we will move on to the next one, which is the same type of agreement with Western Iowa Networks, BTC. Go ahead, Laura.
Thank you. Yeah, so very similar situation. The developer improved some area on the west side of town over by Walmart, And doing so, there were some stormwater improvements that they did at that time, and so the city is rebating back the taxes to repay them for those stormwater improvements. This is scheduled to be paid out over 6 consecutive semi-annual payments over 3 fiscal years, of which fiscal '24 is our first year. This is to appropriate the TIF collections for fiscal '25, so we can continue those payments for the agreement.
Very good.
We just paid one tonight
Yep.
on our bills.
So once again, council's requested their consideration approval of a resolution obligating funds from Westfield Urban Renewal Tax Revenue Fund for appropriation of the tax payment to BTC Inc.
Move.
Was that Laverne?
Second.
Seconded by JJ. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Base,
Yes.
Fornero,
Yes.
Dirks.
Yes.
Shrek.
Yes.
Seaman,
Yes.
Bauer.
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank you. And 6G, Laura, I think you're still up with seatbelt policy.
Yes, thank you.
You don't know it by heart yet, huh?
Well, I probably could.
Buckle up, and that,
Right, buckle up.
summarize by
That's
just
the-
saying
that
buckle
is
up.
the policy, buckle up. Well, a couple months ago, a representative from IMWCA, the city's work comp carrier, was here to review a number of our practices. And one of the things that came about that was, not that we didn't necessarily have a seatbelt policy, but it was just a really short one-line thing. And this is the policy before you tonight is a little bit more expansive and goes into a little bit more detail about use of a seatbelt, not only in vehicles and if you're in your personal vehicle while on city business, but while you're using other city equipment. If it is equipped with a seatbelt, you will be required to wear that seatbelt as well. This is a model policy that we got from IMWCA, so we're pretty sure they're going to sign off on it once council approves it. So this will be added to it, and then our policies and procedure manual, and then we will distribute to all employees and talk about it.
Very good. Any questions about seatbelt policy? If not, council, consideration approval of the resolution adopting the new seatbelt policy, policy number 0903.
So moved.
JJ, Tom, any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Seaman,
Yes.
Bauer,
Yes.
Base,
Yes.
Fornero,
Yes.
Dirks,
Yes.
Shrek.
Yes.
Resolution is approved.
Very good. Thanks, Laura. Okay, under reports, 7. First one, A, wastewater treatment plant digester evaluation. And Randy.
Thank you, Mayor. Vietzer and Kim has completed the digester evaluation at the wastewater treatment plant. If you'll recall, that evaluation was initiated actually in April of '22 to evaluate the condition of the current anaerobic digester, propose whatever upgrades, updating it needs. The equipment is actually about 20 years old now in that digester. And then look into an alternative of converting or switching to aerobic digestion. The report contains the detail on what V&K did. If you have any questions on that, I can sure attempt to answer them. In summary, though, the analysis was boiled down to a 20-year present value, worth value of both the upgrades to the anaerobic digester and the switch to an aerobic digestion. Those are included in your memorandum. The anaerobic treatment alternative was about 5.5 million, 20-year present worth, and the aerobic treatment alternative was about 3.5 million. So the aerobic treatment was recommended for the wastewater treatment plant. And at this point, unless there are questions, I'd recommend your acceptance of the digester evaluation report. And upon that, we'll initiate the next steps toward moving toward converting to aerobic digestion. And that will entail a construction project, obviously, And if you'll also recall, the intent was also to add the VLR air piping project to that contract. It wasn't a very attractive contract when we did let it. Bids were rejected, and this would add it to a larger project and hopefully make it more attractive to a contractor.
Very good. If you're seeing glassy look on my face, I actually,
Yeah, I know.
Right arm,
it's just, yeah. We're supposed to know
yeah.
all about this, right? 115-page report. And
Yeah.
Carolyn, you read everything.
No,
but, yeah.
I skimmed it, I have to admit, but
I went for the summary and there wasn't a summary.
I know. but
So what I'm daring is any council member to go toe-to-toe with Randy. This thing, it's not gonna be this mayor, I can promise you that.
Oh,
I barely passed selling cars 101, so, we are at your,
Mercy.
direction. Yeah, that too. But,
The one thing I would like to point out is on that summary on Randy's memo, the O&M cost or the operation and maintenance cost over time for the aerobic digester is a third of the cost less than what the
it's here.
anaerobic. So it really behooves us to move in the aerobic digestion direction.
well, and I'm not gonna belabor this discussion. but
That I
why-
understand.
Why would anybody
There you
go,
go.
why would anybody go the anaerobic then? I mean, what, there's no long-term benefit, there's certainly no short-term monetary benefit, but I mean,
Okay,
That'd be a space restriction, where they gotta do it in a smaller area?
no, they'll be the same areas. We'll use the same tanks that we're using now. They'll just be converted to aerobics.
It also says
But-
anaerobic is not as safe either.
No, and anaerobic digestion is historically used in, biological treatment units. And it's really customary to use that. It's a good process. It's a little more expensive than aerobic. When you get to an activated sludge type process that we have converted to, aerobic is more common. And we knew that 25 or 20 years ago when we converted the plant to activated sludge. And, but the decision at the time was to stick with the anaerobic. Well, as time progressed, we did upgrade all of the anaerobic digestion at that time. But as time progressed, that equipment wore out. And that was the reason for the evaluation of the current equipment and the high cost of replacing it. So it is now an opportune time really to switch over to aerobic for the 20-year cost.
so the next step would be that you enter into what, design services and a document to prepare for the conversion itself.
Yep, yep.
At least that part I get, but, yeah,
Admin, hello.
yeah. Tom, it takes less Pepto-Bismol this way, so, the digester. Any other questions? I certainly don't. I need a motion to approve the study, isn't that correct? Yeah. Yeah, acceptance of the evaluation report.
So second.
Tom and then Misty. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Seaman,
Yes.
Bauer,
Yes.
Base.
Yes.
Fornero,
Yes.
Dirk,
Yes.
Strike. Yes. Motion is approved.
Thank you. Okay, so we're moving right along to item 7B, which is the West Gulf View subdivision paving section selection. And Randy, you're still up, sir?
Thank you, Mayor. As you recall, the West Gulfview subdivision platting and public improvement work has been, the design has been initiated. At this time, where you're at a kind of a critical point in selecting the paving section that you desire on West Street. You have two alternatives, basically, a rural section, which it currently is, which is a pavement, a shoulder, and a ditch, open ditch. And regardless of what type of, if that were selected, regardless of what type of adjacent development there is, that ditch would have to remain in place. The alternative is an urban section, which we would add curb and gutter to the pavement, at least on the east side of the road. The west side would remain unchanged. But adding curb and gutter and some storm sewer, then the ditch could be filled, and it would be more of an urban type section that we have in most of our streets in town. It's critical. The selection is critical, certainly for the aesthetics, whether you like curbs or no curbs. And then this will impact the sanitary sewer location in this particular development, and then the needs for platting. The rural section will require more right-of-way to be platted than an urban section does. So it's kind of important to make that selection so we can continue to move forward with those plats and plans. We have prepared some conceptual opinions of probable cost for the rural and urban. They are included in your memorandum. In short, rural is anticipated to cost, including the grading and the sanitary sewer work, storm sewer work, and erosion control, $834,800. The urban section is anticipated to cost $1,174,730. So at this point, I would be happy to answer any questions. If not, I would recommend that you consider a selection of urban or rural for the West Gulfview subdivision.
Perfect. Questions for Randy? I'll start with a couple. So essentially what we've got, and I know we talked about this earlier on this summer, the rural is essentially what we've got along Grant Road, which I think we kind of seem to agree with most of that night that might not want to be replicated. So is the only decision we're making tonight then is just whether or not we want to curb and gutter it or not curb and gutter it? And that's the only decision we're making tonight?
Yes.
Okay. So it does involve grading and erosion control, which you've got listed in here. But remember, you and I talked one day about some of those lots, particularly those interior lots, are a little below the street grade. Does that 171 or 345 include that? That's over and above, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's kind of what I
if you
figured.
wanted to bring the lot to street level on a couple of those lots, that would be in addition to this. These would include the grading and erosion control includes the filling of the ditches.
Right.
And if you go to an urban section, but then there may be more cost in changing the lot elevation.
Yeah, I walked it today, and it's very, very similar to Grant Road in its current form. The ditch just has
Yes,
enough.
they're both rural sections.
Yeah.
That's the way they were built. Now, the major difference between the two is Grant Road has a 53-foot half-width right-of-way. So that road right-of-way extends to the back of the back slope. So where the ditch comes up, that's where the lot starts and then goes in. But the houses on Grant Road have a 75-foot setback.
I wondered, yeah.
It's an unusually deep setback. So aesthetically, it puts the ditch a little bit farther away from the front door than a 35-foot setback. And I guess you could establish whatever setback you want in the subdivision, but the zoning will probably carry a 35-foot setback. And then, of course, these lots are really only 120 feet deep or whatever we platted them. So the more setback you get, the less rear yard you get. and the closer you put them to the fairway. So that's kind of the difference between what this would ultimately be and what Grant Road is now.
It looked as though, and like whereas Grant Road has 3 east-west streets and thus culverts, it looks like this one would only just have the one there at the golf course maintenance shed. Is there a second one at the clubhouse perhaps?
Oh,
In terms of culverts?
driveway culverts?
Right.
Each driveway would have to have a culvert.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
there might be one lot on the top of the hill that doesn't need it, but otherwise it drains both north and south.
Right, but there's no other street culverts then?
No.
Right, okay.
No, this driveway culverts on each entrance.
Okay, and then as I was walking on our trail. Neither decision would impact the trail whatsoever, correct? Would it?
Yeah, well, the trail will be put back in, but if it's an urban section, there would be, the street would be widened with a curb and gutter, and then the trail would have to be relocated behind the curb.
And then sidewalks?
Well, it's either trail or sidewalk. I mean, the trail would be a sidewalk, as it is now. With the rural section, the trail would stay where it is. It's just-
I took a picture yesterday, walked the whole area from the golf course north to 180th. And all of the residential homes on Northwest Street have curb and gutter. To me, it is illogical not to continue that and to expect, and we're being very conservative at the assessed value of each house potentially being $700,000. If we are anticipating that price point, I think it will be very hard to sell lots, whoever ends up selling them, and then expecting someone to build a house at this price point when you have no curb and gutter. And we even have curb and gutter going past the golf course buildings, or up to the buildings, the city maintenance building. And so we have curb and gutter going right by the golf course parking lot, by the clubhouse, et cetera. And then as you look farther north, you get the perspective. This is the very last, the end of the curb and gutter, right before the city buildings, the maintenance buildings. So, I guess we have to look at it. Yes, it costs more, but thinking long-term and thinking about what we would like developed there, to me, it makes sense to continue the curb and gutter. And I think long-term it will pay off for us. As far as, right now, we're getting nothing for that land. So the property taxes, you look at the chart we have here, we're getting more than what we're getting now.
But the decision right now is just for curb and gutter.
Right,
So-
right, correct.
Yeah, I would agree with your
But I
points.
mean, thinking
I wouldn't
ahead,
Grant
how
Road
we
it
deal
again
with this is going to
at any
impact
price.
the price point of the homes and what the lots can be sold for.
I actually had somebody on Grant Road, not even knowing that we were doing this, wanted to fill in their ditch just because of the hassle with it and the insects in the summertime and that's even with a 75-foot setback. At first when I looked at this, I thought, well, that's $340,000, that's quite a bit difference, but once that person called me and then I talked to another person I know, they're not happy with what they have on Grant Road.
Nobody is.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Randy? What's the council's wishes?
Urban.
Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Was it Carolyn and then Tom? Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Rosero?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Bauer?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Strack? Yes. Dirt?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, we are moving right along to item 7C, and that is US 30 traffic signal removal study on Adams Street and Court Street. Randy?
Thank you, Mayor. I don't know if you'll recall, but in 2016, there was a study conducted for removal of 2 traffic signals along Highway 30. Those were at Adams Street and Court Street. The procedure that used was developed out of the MUTCD and the Institute for Traffic Engineers. And that procedure basically was twofold. It included public notification in advance and then covering the signals for a period of 90 days. And during that time, the city received responses from the public. And at that time, the decision was made not to remove the signals. Now, it's been suggested that process be reinitiated currently to begin to remove the signals. And I've outlined the process in the memorandum. It includes advance notification to the public and then a period of non-operation in which we will observe and record some data. We'll take any comments and bring those back at the end of 90 days. So at this point, unless there are any questions, I'd just recommend you consider the initiation of that type of study for the removal of those 2 signals.
Quick question, just to get clarification. It says stop signs in here. Stop signs will be placed on Adams Street to cross 30, and same with Court, correct? Okay.
Yes. Yep.
Temporary stop signs,
Yep.
right? Yeah.
At one time you mentioned that we're going to upgrade these.
Yes.
Is that replacing them all, or what does that upgrade cost, or what is it?
The upgrade that's envisioned at the current time in the capital improvement program is for the computer equipment, the electronic equipment in the signals. The poles are not included, but it's the controllers and everything within the controller is the proposal at this point.
Because you can't get parts for these much anymore, can you?
We cannot get parts for those controllers now.
You don't have an estimated cost on one of those controllers?
It'll run between 100 and 150,000 per intersection.
So if we eliminate Adams and Court, $250,000?
200,000 to 300,000, yes.
I think the question Tom and I had prior to the meeting that we had for you is, does it require a whole nother study again? We can't use the data from 2016 and just move forward at the council's discretion.
Right. Well, the process is set up to be pretty transparent, to warn people that we're going to be looking at this, we are looking at it, and now we've got data. Now, the data won't change that much, the hard data. There will be reduction in delay time, and we had anticipated in 2016, about 17 hours of reduction in delay time during that 90-day period, which is huge in traffic counts. But more likely, it's for transparency, to tell people it's going to happen and then make it happen and then decide if you really want to remove it. I mean, the discussion within the building, let's say, in 2016 favored the removal. But the outcome after public input was not removal. So it just gives the public the opportunity to weigh in on something like that.
Thank you. I'm all for that part of it. So maybe something Tom and I weren't exactly clear on is we just do our own study, Randy? We don't do an outside consultant?
No.
Nobody, okay, so it's just our own internal study.
So,
Yeah.
another question, we turned this to flashing yellow when we had Adams going. Okay? So can't we do that with
I was gonna ask the same thing.
Adams and Court and just leave them flashing for a while?
Right.
That's one of the alternatives is to,
Be part of our study?
to perform this with those flashing. But the downside of doing that is people are still reading that signal. And what we want to do is make that intersection look like there's no signal there. So we get the public reaction, both in crashes, is part of it. And then just in the public perception of no signal being there, rather than, because at the end of 90 days, you wouldn't want to keep this thing flashing forever. I mean, you'd have to replace the controller and you wouldn't save any money and whatever. So more likely this process reflects more of what it would be with no signal there.
And if we kept them flashing, you'd still need the new controllers eventually too, right?
Yes.
So there'd be no savings, so.
You're in charge.
When this was flashing here, we had quite a few accidents.
Did you?
Over this summer,
Correct.
In
More than normal.
In 2016, we had one accident in 90 days, and it was a left turn, I think at Court.
and we've had quite a few this summer, Brad.
More than normal.
Really?
For, what were they for?
People were see the yellow light and slow to a stop, and the cars behind them would not stop.
Oh, rear enders, huh?
Oh,
Nice.
so that's why you don't want flashing yellow.
Correct.
Yeah.
So with the lights gone, I just want to clarify, how does one get across the road? You have to, you definitely have to wait on your own to go. There's no button to push.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
You can't put them in
It's,
unless you have new controllers.
well, I guess, first of all, to try to answer that question, yes, you'd have no protected crossing. The other signals do create gaps in the traffic so that you can enter and you can cross on these side streets. And also one of the, I guess, casual observations during the 2016 study, I was approached and someone said, "Where's all the traffic on Highway 30?" Really early in the study. And a response was given by another person that people are avoiding it because those signals are bagged. That wasn't actually the case. We counted the traffic. It was similar to what it was without the signals being bagged, but it was moving through the town. And so it really created reasonable gaps for vehicle entry onto the highway from these two intersections and ped crossings at these two intersections. So it's, that's kind of what happens.
Is the goal for this to get the traffic through faster? Now, this last time you did that prove that traffic went through town faster?
It did, yes.
Okay.
And what spawned this most recently?
I had a number of citizens, hey, we really like this.
Yeah.
Can we look at this again? And so I've had a number of them, so I talked to Randy and said, hey, what would be the process? So
I have
So
the same
You've heard
thing.
them too.
I've had the same thing.
I had one, don't mean to single you out, but I'll visit with her maybe as early as tomorrow, but with Adams Street, I had one complaint from the treasurer's office that they couldn't get to the bank. They couldn't it was hard for them to cross the street. And I've got to clarify that with her because I don't know why you couldn't cross at Main and then
Backtrack.
go down rather than just crossing at Adams. But I'll clarify that with her because she's a constituent too, and there are partners as well, and I don't want to have any treasurer deputies making a deposit with my tax money, so I'll follow up with her. But again, I don't know. I mean, to me, it makes perfect sense. I use Adams Street when I'm shopping probably more so than I do, Court Street, but that's more ped traffic for the housing along there. I told Aaron when we put it on the agenda that I'm really moot on it, but Just want to do what the people want us to do. And transparency is great, and I mean, and I appreciate your comments on that. I want to be fully, but I was a little bit concerned about, you know, if we invested X amount of money, you know, just 7 years ago, but we do it all internally, so I'm good with that too, so.
Right.
That's
well,
fine.
We will have to make sure we have signing, and that may be some upfront expense, but those are outlined in that timeline.
So about a 90-day process here is about what we're talking, so.
It's really about 120 day. We start 30 days in advance.
So
by
30 plus the
posting
90, I'm with
that
you.
This is going to go under study.
Okay.
And then also public announcement of that.
Okay.
And then at day zero, we begin
Okay.
the actual bagging, turning off the signals and putting bags over them.
We'll be just in time for the Christmas holiday shopping season then, so. All right.
If it gets started at that point, like I say, we have to make sure we secure signing.
Yep.
And have everything ready. Also on day zero, we reset the timing on the rest of the signals that are in place so that it's optimized for traffic.
Okay. Council's wishes? Anyone? Would need a motion for the commencement of the removal study would be in order. You want to move forward?
So moved.
Tom? Misty? Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Base,
Yes.
Bauer,
Yes.
Seaman,
Yes.
Shrek,
Yes.
Dirk,
Yes.
Fornero.
Yes.
Thank you. So we are at item 7D and police vehicle purchase. Brad?
Thank you, Mayor. We'll do this the third time here, hopefully.
It's the
I was
charm.
Notified late October by both New Way and Champion Ford that Ford was releasing their 24 models for bid. So we discussed it at the council meeting, I believe, that night that the last council meeting we had about this. I did receive bids from Champion Ford and from New Way Ford. We were not able to get a state bid for comparison for the third bid due to the fact that they're not ready yet. So Champion and New Way moved faster than the state did on this one to get us bid prices. One of the purchases is from last fiscal year and one is for this current fiscal year. And the bids were put out and received by New Way and Champion Ford within about 24 hours. New Way Ford was the low bid with a total bid of $91,456 for the two vehicles. By only receiving two bids, though, we will need to waive the purchase policy 501 if we're to move forward with this bid. And then we will also be selling a vehicle on Gov Deals if we get a vehicle in this time. So the plan will be to have no trade-in, but then to turn around and sell it on Gov Deals, which we had planned to do back in the 2023 fiscal year also. So if there is any questions, I'll feel free to answer them. Otherwise, my recommendation would be to accept the bid. Well, first we have to waive the purchase policy 501, accept the bid for the two vehicles from New Way Ford, and then also approve the sale of the 2008 Ford Police Interceptors through the Gov Deals auction site.
Got a question on the sale one. Will it be good enough for the airport? One of those used ones?
Pass on this one.
Okay.
You could. It's gonna have a lot of miles on it by the time we are done with it.
Because we spend, what, $500-600 a month now renting something that we could eliminate.
I mean, it's a possibility. It's probably gonna have 130,000+ miles on it of police driving. So it also has a water pump on the back of the motor,
Wait for the next.
which if you have any knowledge of,
Yeah.
costs about $3,000 to replace. So
Jeez.
Okay, so you heard the recommendation. Is there a motion to that effect? Tom, and then seconded by Laverne. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Dirk,
Yes.
Shrek, yes, Seaman,
Yes.
Bauer,
Yes.
Base,
Yes.
Fornero.
Yes.
Probably
Sorry.
shouldn't.
So, I don't cheat sheet.
That's fine.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Motion is approved.
Yeah.
thank you.
That did include, I kind of missed, that there's a second part of that to sell the other one on govdeals.com.
Yes,
At least
that-
that'll be the intention for right
That's
now.
the intent, correct?
Yeah, sorry, I kind of
We'll see if we
glazed
get them.
over
The
that.
plan is to, I think production is set for January, February for the 24 models. It's a quick window.
Well, say, she's a whole new ball game today, folks. Okay, we are at the end of tonight's agenda then. Under committee reports, they're in our packet. Comments from the mayor, I have none other than my, reiterate my earlier comment about business development agreements. And then comments from the city council.
It's nice to see Adams Street done.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Anything else? Comments from the city manager.
You heard from me enough tonight.
Thomas, we're at that moment. Is there a second?
Second.
And JJ, any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Bauer?
Yes.
Base?
Yes.
Modero?
Yes.
Dirk?
Yes.
Schreck? Yes. Seaman?
Yes.
We are adjourned.
Thank you.